Hey everyone! Today we are diving into the structure of one of the most massive and influential stories ever told, the Mahabharata. Now, if you've ever looked at this epic, it can feel a bit overwhelming. It's not just a book, it's an entire library. It's divided into 18 sections called parvas, plus a massive appendix. Think of these as the seasons of a long-running series. Let's walk through the arc of this legend, from the very first spark to the final ascent. It all starts with the Adi Parva. This isn't just an introduction, it's a deep dive into the origins of the Bhrigu and Kuru dynasties. We see the birth of the Pandavas and the early seeds of jealousy from their cousin Duryodhana. Then we move into the Sabha Parva, where the stakes get real. The Pandavas build the stunning city of Indraprastha and perform a grand ritual to establish their sovereignty. But it all comes crashing down during a high-stakes game of dice. The loss is total, leading us into the Vana Parva. Imagine 12 years of exile in the forest. It's a time of reflection and trial for the brothers, followed by the Virat Parva, where they have to live completely incognito. There's a great moment here where Arjuna, disguised, ends up single-handedly defending a kingdom's cattle against the entire Kaurava army. It's the last bit of adventure before things get dark. The Udyoga Parva marks the end of diplomacy. Peace efforts fail, and the gears of war begin to turn. This leads us into the heart of the conflict, starting with the Bhishma Parva, which is where the Great War begins, and it's also where the famous dialogue of the Bhagavad Gita takes place, a moment of profound philosophy right on the edge of the battlefield. As the war rages on, the leadership of the Kaurava army shifts through three major phases. First, in the Drona Parva, under the master teacher, then the Karna Parva, where the rivalry between the world's greatest archers reaches its peak. Finally, the Shalya Parva brings the end of the combat. Duryodhana falls and the war is technically over, but the tragedy isn't. In the Sauptika Parva, we see a horrific nighttime raid. Ashwathama kills the remaining Pandava warriors while they sleep. Only a handful of people survive on either side. It's a grim reminder that in a war like this, no one truly wins. The aftermath is heavy. The Stree Parva focuses on the women of the families mourning their dead, and Gandhari, in her grief, places a heavy curse on Krishna. But the story doesn't end with the funerals. In the Shanti Parva and Anushasana Parva, Yudhishthira is crowned king. He spends a long time at the feet of the dying Bhishma, receiving deep lessons on how to rule with justice and integrity. It's a transition from the chaos of war to the burden of leadership. Years later, in the Ashwamedhika Parva, Yudhishthira solidifies his empire with a grand horse sacrifice. But time eventually claims everyone. The Ashramavasika Parva tells us how the older generation, Dhritarashtra, Gandhari, and Kunti, retire to the mountains and pass away. The final chapters are haunting. The Mausala Parva details the tragic end of Krishna's own dynasty. Seeing his work on earth finished, the Pandavas decide it's time for their own exit. In the Mahaprasthanika Parva, they begin their final trek into the Himalayas. One by one they fall, until only Yudhishthira remains. Finally, in the Swargarohana Parva, he reaches the heavens, reuniting with his family in their spiritual forms. And if you want to know more about the man behind the scenes, there's the Harivamsha, the appendix that focuses entirely on the life and deeds of Krishna. It's an incredible journey from a snake sacrifice in a forest to the very gates of heaven. 18 parts, one massive legacy. Thanks for listening.